The millionaire risks it all to rescue the orphaned girl left on the empty highway. Nathaniel Price never expected a night like this. The storm hit fast, roaring winds, sheets of rain blurring the highway into a horrible streak of shadows and flashes. His sleek black car skimmed through puddles like a bullet, headlights cutting through the darkness. That's when he saw her, a tiny figure huddled by the side of the road, soaked to the bone, trembling against the rage of nature. No one else was out there, just her and the storm. His grip tightened on the wheel. His heart suddenly thudded painfully, the unexpected sharpness making his throat close up. Something about the girl's desperate eyes pulled him back to a past he'd long tried to bury, a past full of betrayal and silence. Ignoring the roar of the rain pounding on his car, Nathaniel pulled over, slick tires skidding slightly on the wet asphalt. His breath came hard, clouds drifting out in sharp bursts as he stepped into T. She didn't cry out, just stared, frozen. Nathaniel's voice was low, rough. Hey, are you okay? What are you doing out here?" His words barely cut through the storm's howl. She flinched, then whispered something barely audible. "I have nowhere to go." His chest tightened. Those words slammed into him, opening wounds he thought healed. Something about her story, her silence, that broken look, felt eerily familiar. Without thinking, he lifted her into his arms, feeling her small body shiver violently against him. The rain drenched them both, mixing cold and warmth. Back inside the car, Nathaniel wrestled with a storm inside, equal to the one raging outside. This decision, taking her in, threatened the unshakable fortress he built around his life. His ruthless business world demanded no distractions, no weaknesses. And yet here was this girl, soft and broken, challenging everything he stood for. Then a sudden ping shattered the silence. A message from Angela, his fiercest rival, flashed on his phone. Her words were venom, threatening to expose every secret if a scandal with this girl surfaced. His breath caught. He knew Angela's game. She was waiting for a crack in his armor, ready to tear him down. As the hours wore on, Lila's story unfolded between shaky sentences, a story tangled with loss, abandonment, and a past that echoed Nathaniel's own nightmares. Pieces snapped into place, memories long locked deep inside, clawing their way out. She wasn't just any girl on the road. Her heritage, it was tied to his in ways he'd never imagined. Thunder shook the house when they finally reached his estate. Nathaniel sat back, fighting the whirlwind of emotions smashing through him. Could he protect her? Could he save the empire he built? Or would this small, desperate girl destroy everything? And the haunting question whispered through the storm's rhythm. Why was Lila truly left alone on that highway? The rain hammered harder, shadows stretching long and wild outside the windows, while inside, two broken souls began a fragile, dangerous bond. But the secrets hiding beneath the thunderclouds promised storms far worse than the one outside. Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content. But deep down, beneath the instinct to protect, something else stirred. A flicker of panic. What if Angela found out? What if she used this against him? The crack of thunder echoed, nearly drowning out the ping of his phone once again. His heart raced as he picked it up. Another message from Angela. "You know I'll find out the truth, Nathaniel. You can't hide forever." The looming threat snaked around his thoughts like a cold hand, squeezing him tight. Lila deserved safety, but could he give it to her without losing everything he had built? He glanced over at her. Her eyes were wide, reflective pools of fear and loneliness. She needed comfort, and he needed clarity. He took a deep breath and started to ask her more about that frightening highway. "Lila, how did you end up there?" He hoped to unlock something in the silence that clung around them. But before she could respond, a loud crash boomed from the front of the house. Nathaniel's stomach dropped. He glanced toward the door. A wave of dread washed over him. Was it the storm? Or was it someone else? He dashed to the window, pulling back the drapes. Outside, figures loomed in the darkness, heads bent low against the rain. His heart pounded. Were they here for him? Or for Lila? "Stay here," he ordered, tension tightening his voice as he took a cautious step toward the door. His mind raced with fear for Lila, mixing with the necessity to protect his empire. As he opened the door, the winds howled and rain lashed across his face. The shadows became figures. A group of 3, visibly soaked, huddled together. One of them stepped forward, pushing back the hood of a rain-soaked jacket. Nathaniel's breath hitched. It was a face from his past, Daniel, his brother, an estranged part of his life he had long since tried to forget. "Nathaniel," Daniel's voice cut through the chaos, urgent and strained. "You need to listen. They know." "They?" Nathaniel asked, tension simmering in his voice. His mind raced with questions. Who did he mean? What are you talking about? The urgency in Daniel's eyes flickered with desperation. "Angela, she's planning something. It's about Lila." Stunned, Nathaniel felt his chest tighten. "What do you mean? What do you know about Lila? Was this all a setup?" His pulse quickened as he thought of the little girl still inside. Daniel took a shuddering breath. "There are secrets, Nathaniel. Lila, she's not just an orphan. She's connected to the family in ways you don't realize." "What?" The words slipped out like a gasp. Nothing made sense. Nathaniel felt the ground shift beneath him. The very reality he had built around himself tearing apart. Just as Nathaniel opened his mouth to demand answers, a loud siren sliced through the storm, piercing the night. Red and blue lights flashed outside, illuminating everything in a chaotic dance. Nathaniel's gut twisted. The police were here. Had Angela pulled strings? Was this a setup? Could Lila even be safe now? Questions crashed like waves inside his mind. Daniel moved closer, his voice barely audible over the storm. "We have to get her out of here." "Who is she?" Nathaniel demanded, fear and confusion warping his words. "What do you mean?" Daniel opened his mouth. But before he could answer, a figure stepped out from the shadows, a woman with a chilling smile. Her eyes locked onto Nathaniel. "There he is!" A voice wrapped in ice cut through the chaos. "The key to everything has come home." As Nathaniel's heart sank, the truth loomed large. Nothing would ever be the same again. What was the history tied to Lila, and how deep did the betrayal run? The storm had only just begun. Nathaniel's breath caught in his throat as he stared at the woman with the cold smile. Her presence felt like ice in the air, a chill that wrapped around him like a noose. The storm roared outside, but the real tempest was right here. She stepped closer, eyes shining with a light that seemed too sharp, too alive. "Leah," she said, her voice smooth but laced with a hidden threat. "I've been waiting for you to come back." Nathaniel felt the ground shift beneath his feet. Leah? The name struck him like a hammer. His mother had been named Leah. He had buried that name, buried her memory along with a childhood he desperately wanted to forget. "Stay away from me," he snapped, taking a step back, panic racing through him. "What do you want?" The shadows clung to her like a cloak as she continued. "I want to show you the truth about your family, and about Lila." Everything felt wrong. "What do you know about Lila?" Nathaniel spat, forcing the words out like poison. "More than you can imagine," Leah replied, her smile now one of calculation. "She's not just a girl on the highway, Nathaniel. She's tied to our family." "You don't even know what it is to be Price, do you?" Confusion knotted in his stomach. "What's that supposed to mean?" He glanced at Daniel, whose face was pale with disbelief. "You can't be serious." Leah stepped closer, and the wind howled around them. "You thought you could escape your past, but it's here, Nathaniel. Lila is part of it, part of a secret that has been kept from you your whole life." He shook his head, feeling the room spin. "I don't want to hear this. You can't." But a crack of thunder interrupted him, louder than before, shaking the walls of the estate. The lights flickered, casting eerie shadows. "Listen," Leah demanded, her voice rising above the storm. "I can help you protect her, but you need to trust me. You need to uncover the truth about who you really are and who Lila is." "Stop." Nathaniel's heart raced. "You're lying. Lila is just an orphan." But even as he said it, doubt crept in. Was she really just an orphan? The truth washed over him like a wave. The pieces of a puzzle he hadn't even known existed were beginning to fit together, and it made him dizzy. At that very moment, Lila appeared at the door, eyes wide and frightened. The child was a beacon in the storm, her small frame silhouetted by the flashes of lightning. "Nathaniel?" she called, voice trembling, with every ounce of protective instinct rising within him. He turned away from Leah. "Stay inside, Lila!" he shouted, panic spilling over. But it was too late. As he moved towards her, the sound of sirens pierced the night again, louder than before. Red and blue lights flooded through the windows, casting a surreal glow over the room. The police were here. He could feel the tightening of fear in his chest. Then Leah stepped in front of him, her voice cold and firm. "They're not here for you, Nathaniel. They're here for her, to take her away." "What? No!" The ground felt like it was crumbling beneath him. Lila was his responsibility. They couldn't take her. An urge to protect surged within him, followed closely by another layer of dread. "Believe me, it's your only choice," Leah urged. "If you refuse to confront the truth, you'll lose her forever, and your own family will come for you." "What family?" he shouted, frustration boiling over. "What are you trying to pull?" But before Leah could respond, the door burst open and two officers rushed in, their expressions grim. "Hands in the air," one of them shouted, and Nathaniel froze, realization crashing over him like another wave. "Lila," he breathed, turning back to the child, but she was staring at him with wide, terrified eyes. The sirens wailed outside, drowning out everything. In that instant, he understood. This storm wasn't just the weather. It was the beginning of a truth that threatened to tear everything he held dear apart. "Lila, wait!" he cried. But she was already retreating, and the separation felt like a knife twisting in his heart. Was she a part of something bigger? Something that could destroy him? He could feel the storm building inside as he faced the officers, realizing that the fight for Lila was only just beginning. But the bigger question loomed. What had he truly gotten himself into? Nathaniel felt the weight of the tension in the air, a thick fog pressing down as he faced the officers. The storm beyond the windows raged on, but it was nothing compared to the turmoil inside him. Lila was looking up at him, scared and alone. The mere thought of losing her made his chest ache. "Lila!" he shouted, but it was like shouting into a void. The officers stood firm, eyes locked on him, an unyielding barrier to the only lifeline he had. The blaring sirens cut through the chaos and fear gripped him. "Stay where you are," one officer ordered, signaling for Nathaniel to back away. His heart raced. "No!" He surged forward, desperate to reach Lila. He could feel her small frame trembling as shadows danced in the flickering light. "It's okay. I'm here." But the words felt hollow, like they were lost among the crashing waves of the storm. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the room, defying the howling winds outside. The flash of lightning illuminated the figure of Lila, who had positioned herself next to the officers with a self-satisfied grin. "Don't you understand, Nathaniel?" she called out, and her voice was smooth, unsettling. "This is your last chance to set things right. If you don't act now, she's gone forever." "Gone?" Panic ripped through him. "What do you mean?" "Time's running out." Before Nathaniel could respond, a piercing scream cut through the air. Everyone turned, and the shrill sound echoed like a thunderclap, freezing him in place. It came from Lila, the sheer terror radiating from her small form. "Help! Nathaniel!" Her cry was raw, filled with a pain that sliced through him like a knife. Without thinking, Nathaniel lunged towards her, but the officers blocked his path, their hands raised. "Step back," one yelled, but he couldn't stop. "Lila!" he yelled, desperation fueling his every move. In that breathless moment, the front door swung open, and a wave of frigid air rushed in. It sent chills down Nathaniel's spine. But it wasn't just the wind. A figure emerged from the darkness, stepping inside with a menacing calm. It was Angela. Nathaniel's breath caught as her smirk cut through the tension like a razor. "So glad to see you've made new friends, Nathaniel," she said, her tone dripping with false sweetness. "But let's skip the pleasantries. We need to talk about Lila and the surprise she's hiding." A jolt ran through him. "What are you talking about?" Lila's wide eyes flicked between Nathaniel and Angela, confusion and fear mixing on her face. "It's simple." Angela stepped closer, her eyes gleaming with something sinister. "Lila isn't just a poor girl you picked up from the highway. She has a lineage that connects her to your family more than you know." "What?" "No." Nathaniel's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" "She is your sister," Angela declared, breaking the air like glass shattering. Silence fell, so loud Nathaniel could hear his own heartbeat echoing in his ears. "Lies," he screamed, shaking his head furiously. But uncertainty crept in. "She can't be." But Angela's eyes held a ferocity that made him question everything. "It's the truth, Nathaniel. Lila is the last heir. Your mother hid her for a reason." His world cracked apart. He looked back at Lila. whose expression flickered between confusion and something deeper, something he had failed to see. Suddenly, the room spun. The truth was cutting now, slashing through all the armor he wore. No, Lila was his sister. The storm outside paled in comparison to the storm in his mind. The layers of betrayal began to peel away, revealing secrets he wasn't prepared to confront. "Don't you see?" Angela's voice broke through his haze, sharp and mocking. "This is your chance, Nathaniel. Will you embrace your true family or let her go?" The weight of the moment pressed down on him. Anger, disbelief, fear. They coursed through him like a raging flood, making it hard to breathe. Lila stepped back, her small figure trembling. Nathaniel felt the ground shift beneath him. Could it really be true? Chaos swirled around him, and he was left standing at a crossroads, facing not just the storm outside, but the tempest of his own bloodline. "Lila, what do I do?" he whispered, desperation fueling his words, but the answer hung in the charged air, dangling above him. As lightning cracked again, illuminating the truth in sharp bursts, he realized he would have to make a choice, one that would change everything forever. Nathaniel felt the ground shift beneath him. Heat was rising within him, mixed with a whirlwind of emotions. Fear for Lila, anger at Angela, and confusion over Leah's sudden appearance. He could still hear Lila's terrified scream echoing in his mind, while Angela's taunt hung in the air, heavy with accusation. "She is your sister." "No!" Nathaniel shot back, fervent denial tumbling from his lips. His voice cracked as he turned to Lila, desperate to read her expression. "Lila, tell me it's not true." But instead, he found her brimming with tears, her small body trembling. "What's happening?" Lila asked, her voice barely a whisper. Angela stepped closer, a smirk lingering as she reveled in the chaos. "Oh, sweet girl, you have no idea how deep this goes. Your existence is the key to Nathaniel's redemption or downfall." "Stop!" In that moment, he couldn't take it anymore. "You're lying. You're just using her." But as the words left his mouth, a crashing noise echoed from the back of the estate, louder than any storm outside, more visceral than any thunderclap. It was as if something big had collided with reality itself. Everyone turned to look, tension running high. "What was that?" one of the officers shouted, already moving toward the noise. The air charged with unease, and Nathaniel's heart raced. His eyes darted from Lila to Angela, then back to the door, where the source of chaos loomed. Another loud crash, then silence, but it was a silence pregnant with anticipation. A moment later, a figure stumbled into the room. Covered in debris, they looked disheveled but determined. It was a man in his late 30s, face bruised and eyes wild, an expression of urgency etched across his features. "Damien?" Nathaniel gasped, recognizing the man who had been a family friend. The memory of their last encounter flooded back, a night marred by accusations and secrecy, a night that had sent Nathaniel running from everything he once knew. "What the hell are you doing here?" Nathaniel shouted, disbelief clouding his judgment. "The truth," Damien panted, struggling to catch his breath. "You have to listen. It's all connected to Lila. You don't know who she really is." "What do you mean?" Damien stepped deeper into the room, heart racing. "She's not just your sister. She's the daughter of your father's twin brother, the one who was thought to have disappeared. You need to understand." Angela laughed, cutting him off. "It's too late for this nonsense, Damien. You can't rewrite history." But her tone wavered, revealing cracks. She was losing control. "Lost history?" Damien shot back, a flicker of anger lighting his eyes. "You think you can bury the truth forever? She's tied to the legacy, to the inheritance your family has fought over for generations." Lila looked up, confusion etched across her face. "Lila," Nathaniel breathed, the weight of it crashing down like the storm outside. What does this mean for us? For you?" Suddenly, the room grew heavier. Lila took a step back, eyes darting between them, processing the words tearing through her like wind-whipped shards of glass. The sound of police radios crackled outside, urgency flooding the air once more. "What's happening?" Lila asked, voice trembling. "Am I in danger?" As Nathaniel struggled to answer, a thunder rumbled angrily again, sharp and destructive, mirroring their tumultuous moment. "Get her out of here!" Damien shouted, his voice piercing through the chaos. Just then, the lights flickered and went out, plunging them into darkness. Nathaniel's stomach dropped. The storm, the secrets, the family ties they were unveiling. It all felt like a whirlwind, spinning out of control. Then the wall shook with another pounding reverberation. This time not just from outside. "Step away from her!" A voice boomed unexpectedly from the darkness. Nathaniel's heart stopped. The tension coiled like a snake about to strike. Who had just entered? What more secrets were waiting to unravel? As the echoes of the chaos closed in, Nathaniel realized he had to face not just the storm outside, but the tempest within, where the answers could reveal more than he had ever hoped to uncover. The air tightened around Nathaniel as he worked to process everything thrown at him. Lila was his sister. Unbelievable. He tried to focus, but the sound of that voice from the shadows pulled him from his thoughts. "Step away from her," the voice called again. He squinted into the darkness, heart pounding, realizing they were not out of danger yet. "Who are you?" Nathaniel yelled, desperation creeping into his tone. But instead of answering, the figure stepped into the flickering light. Nathaniel's breath caught in his throat. It was their father, Richard Price, striding into the room like he owned the place. "Dad?" Nathaniel stammered, disbelief gripping him. You're alive!" Richard's eyes were intense, a storm of emotions swirling behind them. But he didn't hesitate. "You need to listen to me," he said, voice steady. "But we thought you were gone!" Nathaniel's mind raced, parsing memories that now felt like fragments of a dream. He felt himself teetering on the edge of reality. "Gone, yes, but not without reason. There's so much you don't know." Richard turned towards Lila, urgency deepening his voice. "We have to get you and Nathaniel somewhere safe." Lila looked confused, fear painted on her small features. "Why? What's happening?" Richard's gaze landed on Angela, his expression a mix of anger and recognition. "You," he spat. "You've entangled my family in your games for far too long." Angela crossed her arms defiantly. "Oh, Richard, the past never really leaves us, does it? You can't protect your children from their true legacy." With each passing second, the tension mounted, thick as the storm clouds outside. "Lila, we're family. Nathaniel said, desperation creeping back. You need to trust me, but we need to get out of here. But Richard suddenly stepped between them in the door. No, it's too late. They'll come for Lila and you. You don't understand what we're up against. Who's they? Nathaniel snapped, feeling panic rise. The room was alive with energy, every heartbeat loud as thunder itself. They've been waiting for this moment. Blackmail, betrayal. They want our family destroyed. Lila is the key, Nathaniel. Richard implored. You need to know the truth about why I left. Suddenly, an explosive realization crashed over Nathaniel like a tidal wave. Why did you fake your death? Before Richard could answer, a sound rang out, sharp, piercing. A gunshot. Time froze. Nathaniel turned. A hand clutched at his chest, panic-stricken. Lila screamed, and as he whipped around, he saw it. A bullet had shattered a window behind them. Glass raining down like deadly confetti. Chaos erupted. Get down! Nathaniel yelled, instinct kicking in. He threw himself over Lila, shielding her as another shot rang out. The room vibrated with the echoes of violence. He could hear the muffled voices of officers outside, confused and frantic. In that moment, everything shifted. Richard flung himself toward Nathaniel and Lila, pushing them farther from the window. We can't stay here, he shouted, adrenaline coursing through his veins. What is happening? Lila sobbed, her voice quaking. Before anyone could explain, the door burst open again, and in walked a figure, cloaked in darkness. Face masked, but a familiar figure nonetheless. Look who we found. The voice was slick and gravelly, sending shivers down Nathaniel's spine. Look who decided to return. It was Daniel, but something was wrong. His eyes were fierce, devoid of the warmth Nathaniel once knew. You shouldn't have come back, Richard. You put us all at risk. The room fell silent again, tension thick enough to slice. Daniel, you... Richard started, anguish in his voice. Family ties don't mean anything if they can be used against you, Daniel responded, voice low and dangerous. Nathaniel felt the ground wobble beneath him. Daniel wasn't just a bystander anymore. He was tangled deep in secrets that might tear them apart. Do you see, Nathaniel? Angela's voice dripped with malicious delight. Family means nothing but betrayal. The weight of every revelation felt suffocating, and Nathaniel gasped for breath. Then what do we do now? The question hung heavy in the air, and uncertainty gripped him harder than ever. Amidst the swirling chaos, one thing became painfully clear. No one was truly safe. And the storm, both outside and around them, was only just beginning. Nathaniel felt the weight of the tension in the air, thick as fog and heavy with uncertainty. The room was alive with accusations, the storm raging outside, and Lila's terrified gaze searching for answers. Richard stood at the forefront, commanding attention, while Daniel glared, anger coating his every word. Family ties don't mean anything if they can be used against you, he repeated, and Nathaniel could feel the fear bubbling under his skin. But before he could process Daniel's words, the temperature in the room dropped. A shadow flickered at the edge of the doorway. The wind seemed to scream, sending chills through everyone. Step aside, a low voice commanded, a mere silhouette against the stormy backdrop. Nathaniel stiffened. What now? He thought, heart racing again. The atmosphere crackled like a live wire, charged with dread. The figure stepped forward, illuminated by a flash of lightning. It was Claire, someone Nathaniel hadn't seen in years. His heart dropped into his stomach. Claire? He barely managed to whisper. Confusion hung in the air like thick smoke. What was she doing here? "Hey, Nathaniel, it's time we had a talk." Her voice was steady, her presence unsettling. Richard's expression hardened. "You shouldn't be here." Ignoring Richard, Claire focused on Nathaniel. "You're in danger. All of you. I know what Angela has done." "I have proof." Nathaniel felt the world tilt under his feet. "Proof? What do you know?" But before Claire could answer, a terrible screeching sound filled the air, a metallic scream of chaos. The windows shattered, sending shards of glass spinning like confetti in a wild storm. In the chaos, Lila screamed, and Nathaniel instinctively lunged for her. "Get down," he shouted, pulling her close. The cacophony roared and thunder cracked, echoing like an ominous drumbeat. Amid the frenzy, Claire stumbled, and Nathaniel's attention shifted. In that moment of distraction, he felt something shift. A sudden impulse tugged at his heart, pulling him deeper into a familiar whirlwind of memories and emotions. When he looked back at Lila and saw her shielding her head with trembling hands, his clarity fogged momentarily. "Stay down," he yelled again, but his heart raced with confusion over Claire's startling appearance and the urgency behind it. Then she spoke, her voice cutting through the chaos with a clarity that stopped everyone cold. "They aren't here for Lila. They're here for you, Nathaniel. The truth about you is about to come out." "What truth?" Lila asked, tears streaming down her cheeks. Nathaniel looked at Claire, everything within him clawing for some semblance of understanding. "I don't understand. What are you talking about?" Suddenly, a gunshot rang out once more, loud and final, echoing in the silence that followed. The hit felt like it pierced through the thick air, shifting his entire world. Nathaniel's breath caught. "No! Lila!" In a frenzy, chaos erupted again. He saw Claire stagger back, clutching her side. Blood blossomed against her shirt, a horrific red flower in the midst of confusion. "Why?" were Claire's final words, confusion replaced by pain. She collapsed, her gaze locking on Nathaniel as if their fractured past could have somehow saved her. "Claire!" he shouted, panic igniting within him. But as he knelt beside her, tendrils of horror wrapped around him. It was as if the universe had peeled back layers of secrecy, exposing hidden truths. Lila gasped, a hand instinctively reaching for Nathaniel. Richard pulled Nathaniel back, and he was desperate now, bewildered. "We have to go!" he shouted, but pieces of the twisted puzzle collided in his head. "No, Claire, don't leave me." "She wasn't just a friend, Nathaniel," Lila whispered, eyes wide with realization. Was she? Just like that, the room froze. The shocking weight of Claire's last moments revealed a cascade of buried memories. Nathaniel's heart sank further. Maybe Claire hadn't just been his confidant, but something deeper. Someone bound to him in ways he didn't want to acknowledge. In that instant, everything changed. No longer simply fighting for Lila, he was embroiled in a war rooted in history and fate. A history laced with blood, secrets, and betrayal. And as the storm outside echoed the betrayal swirling within, Nathaniel stood stunned, the question hanging tightly in the air. Was he truly ready for the truth behind everything that had just unfolded? Nathaniel felt the weight of the tension in the air, thick as fog and heavy with uncertainty. The room was alive with accusations, the storm raging outside. "Family ties don't mean anything if they can be used against you," he repeated, and Nathaniel could feel the fear bubbling under his skin. But before he could process Daniel's words, the temperature in the room dropped. A shadow flickered at the edge of the doorway. The wind seemed to scream, sending chills through everyone. "Step aside," a low voice commanded, a mere silhouette against the stormy backdrop. Nathaniel stiffened. What now? He thought, heart racing again. The atmosphere crackled like a live wire, charged with dread. The figure stepped forward, illuminated by a flash of lightning. It was Claire, someone Nathaniel hadn't seen in years. His heart dropped into his stomach. "Claire?" He barely managed to whisper. Confusion hung in the air like thick smoke. What was she doing here? "Hey, Nathaniel, it's time we had a talk." Her voice was steady, her presence unsettling. Richard's expression hardened. "You shouldn't be here." Ignoring Richard, Claire focused on Nathaniel. "You're in danger, all of you. I know what Angela has done. I have proof." Nathaniel felt the world tilt under his feet. "Proof? What do you know?" But before Claire could answer, a terrible screeching sound filled the air. A metallic scream of chaos. The window shattered, sending shards of glass spinning like confetti in a wild storm. In the chaos, Lila screamed, and Nathaniel instinctively lunged for her. "Get down!" he shouted, pulling her close. The cacophony roared, and thunder cracked, echoing like an ominous drumbeat. Amid the frenzy, Claire stumbled, and Nathaniel's attention shifted. In that moment of distraction, he felt something shift. A sudden impulse tugged at his heart, pulling him deeper into a familiar whirlwind of memories and emotions. When he looked back at Lila and saw her shielding her head with trembling hands, his clarity fogged momentarily. "Stay down." "What?" he yelled again, but his heart raced with confusion over Claire's startling appearance and the urgency behind it. Then she spoke, her voice cutting through the chaos with a clarity that stopped everyone cold. "They aren't here for Lila. They're here for you, Nathaniel. The truth about you is about to come out." "What truth?" Lila asked, tears streaming down her cheeks. Nathaniel looked at Claire, everything within him clawing for some semblance of understanding. "I don't understand. What are you talking about?" Suddenly, a gunshot rang out once more, loud and final, echoing in the silence that followed. The hit felt like it pierced through the thick air, shifting his entire world. Nathaniel's breath caught. "No, Lila!" In a frenzy, chaos erupted again. He saw Claire stagger back, clutching her side. Blood blossomed against her shirt, a horrific red flower in the midst of confusion. "Why?" were Claire's final words, confusion replaced by pain. She collapsed, her gaze locking on Nathaniel as if their fractured past could have somehow saved her. "Claire!" he shouted, panic igniting within him. But as he knelt beside her, tendrils of horror wrapped around him. It was as if the universe had peeled back layers of secrecy, exposing hidden truths. Lila gasped, a hand instinctively reaching for Nathaniel. Richard pulled Nathaniel back, and he was desperate now, bewildered. "We have to go," he shouted. But pieces of the twisted puzzle collided in his head. "No, Claire, don't leave me." "She wasn't just a friend, Nathaniel," Lila whispered, eyes wide with realization. "Was she?" Just like that, the room froze. The shocking weight of Claire's last moments revealed a cascade of buried memories. Nathaniel's heart sank further. Maybe Claire hadn't just been his confidant, but something deeper. Someone bound to him in ways he didn't want to acknowledge. And then, another figure emerged from the shadows. A woman, tall and confident, stepped into the light. Her hair was as dark as a raven's wing, and her eyes gleamed with an electric intensity. "Didn't anyone ever tell you the truth?" she asked softly, a sly smile playing on her lips. "Who are you?" Nathaniel stammered, heart racing again. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she raised a hand, revealing a striking tattoo, a family crest he'd seen before. "I'm here to explain everything. The blood ties, the secrets, the lies. This time, there's nowhere to hide." Shock coursed through him like ice. "Step back!" Lila cried. But Nathaniel could only stare, the pieces of his life fracturing and swirling around him. His family, his legacy, everything was unraveling. The wind howled outside, like the voice of fate itself. "Everything you thought you knew was a lie, Nathaniel," the woman continued, stepping closer. "Your true heritage is darker than you realize." Thunder shook the house as the storm raged on, and Nathaniel found himself teetering on the edge of a truth that could swallow him whole. What had he gotten into? And who was this new player in a game he never wanted to be part of? With each moment, he could feel the ground slipping away. The storm outside mirrored the chaos already in his heart. What secrets lay buried, waiting to surface? Nathaniel felt the ground shift beneath him. The room pulsed with tension, as if the storm outside echoed the turmoil of their truths. Claire's gaze was lost, her life slipping away into the chaos that surrounded them. Nathaniel's heart raced, dread crashing over him with each beat. "Claire!" he shouted, trying to shake the fog of horror from his mind. Something had to be done. This couldn't be it. I came to warn you," Claire gasped, breath hitching, the dark warmth seeping through her fingers as she pressed against the wound. Richard moved closer, panic reflecting in his eyes. "You have to hold on, Claire. We can get you help." "No time," Claire struggled, her movements growing weaker, sounding almost desperate. "You don't understand. The family is divided. The truth must come out." The urgency in her voice rattled Nathaniel, the seriousness of her words striking him deep. Suddenly, a loud crash broke through the tension, louder than thunder, shaking the foundations of the estate. The back wall splintered, sending debris and dust swirling into the air. A figure charged through the opening, dark and powerful. "Get back!" The voice boomed, command slicing through the chaos. Nathaniel's breath was cut short. The newcomer was tall, clad in a sleek black jacket, his eyes cold and calculating. "You've been digging where you shouldn't," he snarled, locking eyes with Nathaniel, a sinister smirk creeping across his face. Nathaniel stumbled back, a chill running down his spine. "Who are you?" he gasped, every nerve in his body screaming to flee. "I'm the one who makes sure forgotten truths stay buried." He turned to look directly at Lila, who was still trembling by Nathaniel's side. "And I'm here for the girl." "Stay away from her," Nathaniel barked defiantly, heart racing. "She's not a pawn." The man laughed bitterly, a sound like ice cracking. "You think you're in charge here? That you can save the day?" He stepped forward, pistol glinting in the dim light. "You have no idea what's coming." Chaos erupted. Lila screamed, darting behind Nathaniel as Angela stepped forward, a glimmer of satisfaction in her eyes. "How charming. This is just like old times," she said, voice dripping with contempt. Richard shot her a look, quickly shifting between anger and concern. "This isn't the time, Angela. We need to get out of here." But Nathaniel's mind was racing. The truth was spinning in front of him, like a whirlwind, dark and fatal. Who was this man? What truth did he hold? Suddenly, Lila broke free from Nathaniel's hold, her gaze fixed on the newcomer. "What do you want?" Her voice was small, but unyielding. The man paused, surprise flickering across his face. Then his smirk returned, darker. "Ah, the little heir. You have no idea, do you?" But before he could continue, a blaring alarm echoed from outside, disrupting the tension like a sharp blade. "Police!" Nathaniel yelled, horror flooding through him. They were running out of time. In an instant, the man raised his gun. "You all will pay for digging up old bones," his voice thundered. Everything froze. Time stood still. Lila crouched, heart pounding, staring at Nathaniel. "No!" Nathaniel shouted, adrenaline surging through him. He lunged forward, but then a shockwave hit. A blinding flash erupted from Claire, piercing the air. "What?" Nathaniel whispered, eyes wide. She stood, but not as she had moments before. Claire's face transformed, a fierce glow surrounding her, like a rising storm. "You think you own this truth?" she screamed. "You don't know anything!" The gun fell from the man's grasp, clattering to the floor. The room erupted in chaos as light filled the space, illuminating Claire's face against the darkness. "Stop!" Richard yelled, eyes wide with horror. "What is happening?" Nathaniel stood frozen, mind scrambling for an explanation. Who was Claire? But before he could connect the dots, Claire turned to face him fully, a fire burning in her eyes. "This was always my fight too, Nathaniel. I am part of this legacy." Questions swirled. How had he missed this? Had everything he believed been just a mirage? Then a loud crash erupted outside, and a piercing scream followed. "No, not her!" The world spun, reality unraveling by the second. What did Claire mean? Who was she truly? Lila's terrified voice cut through the panic. "What is going on?" Nathaniel's heart raced. The storm, the intrigue, everything was shifting. What lay ahead could be even more devastating than he imagined. Did he truly know anyone, including Claire? The room may have been spiraling downward, but it felt like a new storm was brewing, one that could swallow everything whole. Nathaniel stared at Claire, her presence igniting a spark of defiance he hadn't felt in ages. With one look, she connected them back to their past, delivering a promise buried beneath layers of hurt. "You think you can intimidate a family with secrets?" she yelled, the fire lighting her eyes. "We're stronger together." The man with the gun shifted uneasily, uncertainty flickering across his face. Meanwhile, the pounding rain continued to batter the estate, matching the chaos within. Lila's small hands gripped Nathaniel's arm. "What's happening? Why are they doing this?" she trembled. His heart ached for her innocence. She didn't deserve this. "It's okay, Lila," he cried, desperation spilling from his lips. "I promise we'll make it through this." Before he could resolve the moment, the gunman took a step back, calculating. "You don't understand. Your past isn't just your own. It belongs to a legacy that will crush you if you're not careful," he warned, his dark eyes glinting with malice. But Nathaniel stood taller, fueled by Claire's courage. No more hiding. I'm done being a pawn in someone else's game. We'll take back what's ours. With her voice steadying the atmosphere, Claire stepped forward, reaching for Lila's tiny hand. Together, she declared, a fierce light emanating from her. The tension thickened, shadows weaving tightly around them. The gunman's lips twisted into a snarl. Foolish choices lead to ruin. But Nathaniel's determination burned bright. Let's find out, he shouted, rushing toward the man. In a flash, Claire mirrored his movement and tackled the assailant, sending them both crashing to the floor. The weapon clattered away, and in an instant, the air shifted. Lila closed her eyes, wrapping her arms around Nathaniel's waist, seeking safety in his embrace. Now, Nathaniel yelled at Richard, who was still processing the chaos. Help Claire! Richard leapt into action, his adrenaline kicking in. He bolted toward them, ready to pin down the intruder. Outside, sirens wailed, signaling hope. Amidst the struggling forms on the ground, Nathaniel pulled Lila close, offering her warmth in the frigid storm. You're safe with me, I promise, he whispered, voice trembling but firm. Finally, after what felt like endless seconds, Richard and Claire managed to subdue the attacker. He lay breathing heavily, anger mixing with disbelief. Why are you doing this? Richard demanded, authority laced with anguish. I'm just the beginning, the agent spat, glaring at Nathaniel. This isn't over. You have no idea what's coming, Nathaniel Price. The weight of those words hung in the air, like the storm itself, heavy, ominous. Claire turned to Nathaniel, her eyes piercing. This might shake the foundation of everything you thought you knew, but it's not the end. It's just the beginning. Outside, the storm rumbled, dark clouds ready to pour. But with forces finally united, they stepped over the remnants of their past, determined to reclaim their lives. As the police stormed the door, Nathaniel placed a reassuring hand on Lila's shoulder. We'll figure this out. We're family. We'll stay together, no matter what happens. But in the back of his mind, doubt stirred. What lay ahead? What truths were buried? And who else might come looking for them when the storm finally passed? The air hung heavy with unanswered questions, a fusion of hope and uncertainty. Get ready for the battle of your life, Claire said, her voice steadying. And with that, the storm raged on outside, echoing their next steps into the unknown. Before you go, a massive shout-out to true fans. You must subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that unfold from this universe. Click that like button now to feed the algorithm and get more tales like this. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. It matters to us. And don't wait another second to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to know how this all wraps up. Your support makes a difference, and we can't wait for you to join us in this J.